What's up, everybody? Welcome back. So in one of my last videos, I talked about how there's a lot of bugs in the area and people are like, what can you do about it? And so conveniently enough, I got Kris Ancone here. We actually used to work together, real estate agents, and he started a new endeavor. So let's dive in. And for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Brandon. Not only am I a transplant here to South Carolina, but I'm a local real estate agent as well, covering the Midlands of South Carolina, Lexington, Columbia, and Lake Murray. And I put videos out every single week teaching you about the area to see if it's right for you. So don't forget to click that subscribe button, but let's get started with the video. All right, so as I said, as we kind of get kicked off here, Kris started a new endeavor a couple years back, Mosquito Marys. And so a lot of you I know have asked, what can you do about bugs? So that's why I wanted to bring in him here as well. He's been in real estate since what, 2005? So I think at the end we'll probably talk a little bit of real estate. But if you kind of want to talk about what Mosquito Marys does, so that way they know for all the people that are coming here and or live here and don't know what to do about bugs.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kris Ancone. I'm the local owner here, the franchise owner of Mosquito Marys in Richland County and Lexington County. And yeah, so we make outside, you know, pleasant again, basically. And we spray the perimeter of the boundary of the property. We do a perimeter spray of the house. We get all the hot spots like the deck, the fireplace, playground, underneath decks, underneath, you know, thick bushes. These bugs, these critters like to hide out in the shadows, in the wet areas of our yards. And so the product works great. It works mosquitoes, ticks, fleas. I know people are always concerned about fleas, especially if you have any kind of sandy base of the soil. It works great, you know, for those three. And, you know, no-see-ums and gnats, it helps those as well, so.
Gotcha. And so obviously, you know, here in the South, like I've talked about before, bugs are kind of a thing. And so it's not a matter of whether or not they're there, it's what do you do about them. And so, especially, you know, you live here on the water, so I imagine.
For sure. So, of course, you know, it's kind of like the mechanic story where the mechanic doesn't change his own oil. And so Kris decided not to spray his house because he's very busy spraying other customers. And I was out here last week and there was a bunch of gnats and some mosquitoes and that kind of stuff floating around on my deck. And it's kind of embarrassing, right? Like I just did not spray my yard. And sure enough, I sprayed it before my daughter's birthday, as you should, every 3 weeks treatment, and haven't had any issues since we're back on the regular treatment. And it works great. Yeah, for sure. It's you know, it's nice. Our climate consists of a really beautiful spring and a really beautiful fall, and then it's hot in the summer, but we can really hang outside for 8 months out of the year. So typically our customers go early spring to late fall. There's no contracts, but they usually go the whole time because it keeps everything pleasant. So
yeah. And so I think you talked about it a little bit, but what kind of bugs does it take care of? What do you focus on?
I mean, mostly mosquitoes. You know, that's kind of, you know, Mosquito Marys, but also ticks, fleas. You know, ticks aren't a huge issue here, but they do hide out in the big, thick bushes of our backyards. You know, especially some of that big town growth, or if you're near a creek, river, pond. If you have a pool, any kind of standing water, you possibly have issues. Or, you know, like I said, the sandy based soil is a real big issue with the gnats and the fleas.
So south side of town.
And it does help with spiders and ants and, you know, all that kind of good stuff.
Gotcha. And so what does the treatment consist of? How often you said?
So our treatment is every 3 weeks. So give or take every 3 weeks, depending on, you know, weather and, you know, weekends, how that falls. But UV light really breaks down the product. So rain does not, as long as it dries in 15 minutes, then the pets and the kids and everything, you're good. You know, 15, 20 minutes, you're good to go. And so we're on a rotation, you know, and no, like I said, no contracts, but, you know, typically it's a seasonal thing, early spring to late fall.
Gotcha. So I guess last question before we dive into real estate, why Mosquito Marys?
You know, versus others. So you know, we have great service, we have great techs, we have great pricing, for sure. And that all plays a factor, right? Everyone looks at those items and say, oh, who do I want to choose?
Right.
And we're right here, and I am the owner, and I just hired a general manager, VP of operations, and he's going to handle a lot of the back end stuff, handling our techs and that kind of thing. So we are a family owned business. So
awesome.
I wanted to keep it family. My son, when he graduates, will probably be helping us out in the business, and then my partner, the VP, his son's going to help us out, and we're growing. We've already bought the rights to Charlotte, North Carolina,
Gotcha.
which is about an hour and a half away, and we have the whole beltway in Charlotte already locked up. But we decided to start Columbia and Lexington first, just because it's home, and want to get our feet wet here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of it being home for you, obviously I'm transplant here, but you've been here for years, and like you said, been doing real estate since '05.
That's right.
So I think a lot of people watching this are transplants and see Lexington how it is now, and same with me. I've been here since 2015, so I've seen the growth now, but I'm curious from your perspective how it's grown since, because you grew up here.
For sure.
Right. So outside of since obviously we're talking real estate, what you've seen as far as growth in the area since I guess you got into the business.
Yeah, so I've been here since I was about 5 years old. Everyone comes from somewhere. So I wasn't born here, but I came here when I was 5, and I grew up in the Irmo area. And so I've seen the shifts and the changes, and I went to college at USC, downtown Columbia. So I lived downtown for a while. Then at post-college, I lived downtown, and eventually came out to Lexington. Lexington's a growing area. It's beautiful. All the amenities you need, but there's so many good parts of. I call Columbia, even Lexington, I call Columbia, but just because we were always a little Columbia, and so it's always been a medium-sized city. But she's grown up a little bit, but she has all the quaintness of a medium-sized city, but the amenities of kind of a bigger city. So
right.
we're staying ahead of that curve, I feel like, as far as growth, and we're not behind. Where I feel like if you're a big city, sometimes you're playing catch up.
Yeah.
It seems like we're ahead of that, and it's comfortable. The pace is comfortable. Yeah. It's not too lackadaisical, but it's not too go.
Right.
It's a good mix.
Sure.
It's home. It's hot. It's hot in the summer. And our winters are mild, which is beautiful, right? People love that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Relative to up north, yeah, I would say mild.
For sure.
Obviously depends on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Now, I guess I don't know if people want to hear this, but I'm always curious. Like, what was average price point when you first got into real estate? Like, how is that
interesting?
changed?
Yeah. So, like you said, it was a million years ago when I started. 05. So I was pre-crash. I started pre-crash.
Yep.
Of 07, 08 crash. And I taught school for a couple years before real estate. That was cool. But you used to be able to find a house under 100 grand for sure. That was not a super hard thing to do.
Nice house.
It was nice. It wasn't like it was good. It was fine. People are buying investment properties. I remember I bought new construction. I bought a new construction townhouse for, call it 105.
Wow.
In a gated area, in a gated neighborhood.
Wow.
It was on a little gate, and there was a bunch of little townhouses, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath for about 105, brand new. And I had it as a rental for 10 years. So that kind of stuff's gone. But everyone always says in real estate, oh, I missed the window. I missed the window. The window is always open for anything, but especially in a Columbia market. It's some of the best prices in the whole state.
Well,
it still
we're
is.
Still below national
It still
average,
is.
for sure.
And I'm afraid to say that because I remember saying a handful of years ago, well, you could still buy something under 200 grand. And I knew it was coming, and now it's done. Now it's passed.
Right.
It's passed, and
it's very hard to find.
It's hard. But soon it's going to be, well, you can't find anything under 300. So basically, I don't know where the boat is missed, but I still feel like people have opportunities.
The boat's still moving.
Yeah, it is.
Which I think, and we've talked about a little bit, but you talked about pre-crash. So, what was it like here? Because obviously people read things on the news, see things. What was it like here, 08, 09, all those times in the Midlands? What did you see?
That's a good point. I, being a new agent, calling a bunch of people, talking to a bunch of people, I always kept my pulse on the country, right? Nevada, Ohio, up north in general, Florida for sure.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of put it in relation to what was going on here in Columbia.
Yeah.
And Columbia's market never it was skyrocketing, right? Our
Right.
prices were good. Even during the boom, right? Between 2000 to 2007, there was a boom. But when it crashed across the country, Columbia never had that huge correction, We have a good, stable economy. And that's why things aren't inflated here.
Like it never peaked.
Because it never peaked. It never has gone crazy. Now recently, the lake has gotten a little out of hand and this and that. But again, they're not making any more water, and a lot of people have come here because of COVID, because of our restrictions are fairly flexible, and lake property is somewhat reasonable, and people can still. It's a big lake. So
relative to close lakes.
For sure. It's an ocean. It's a body of water. So
50,000 acres.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
when I tell people that, you can't fathom it till you come see it. And I know everyone that's come down is always like, wow, it's amazing to see it. Just drive across the dam and see how far it spreads. But still, and like you said, there's only so many homes on the lake, so it's a supply and demand thing. Of course, it's gonna.
And it's cool because they've always kept public ramps, and they've kept it's accessible to the average person who just has a boat down the road, or just anyone really.
But
if you have a John boat, hey, a kayak, let's go.
Go.
I mean, that's what.
But the one thing they've never done, which I've always said, is there's no real resorts on it. So it's not like it turns into this tourist place.
Yep.
There's campsites and things like that on it, but there's no hotels, there's no resorts.
There is a quiet cove for anyone on the lake. You can find a cove, especially in the shoulder seasons. If you want to live here, be on Murray, have a boat, whether you live on the lake or whether you're not, if you just have access to a boat, especially on the quiet, I see a lot of traffic on the water, but in the off season, you have the lake to yourself for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And it's still, people go on the lake on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So but most people.
We don't freeze.
Yeah, most people crush the summer, but it's Miss Murray. They call it Miss Murray.
And even during the summer, I know I've rented a boat and take it out, and if you go during the week, it's like it's not like you're, I know being on the West Coast, going to some of these tourist lakes, you're constantly looking over your shoulder. Where here, it doesn't feel like that. Maybe on holiday weekends. But that's been my
you're right, dude. You have there's been times on the weekdays I go on a sunset cruise or something, and you have that lake to yourself. There's no one out there, and on October, it's still beautiful weather. Right. It's still 80 degrees.
In October, yeah,
and people just kind of I don't know, they put it off to the side. But if you're the type of person that wants to enjoy retirement, you want to enjoy those later years, when you're not as busy with the kids and practice and school and all that. Just being near this lake is I don't know, it's a blessing. So don't tell all your friends.
They're coming. They're all coming.
Hey man, share the love. Well,
actually, it was funny now that I remember it that you said it. You said that everybody here is from somewhere. When did you notice, I guess in real estate, when people started relocating? Was it always people relocating here, or did it pick up more in different times?
Mostly not. We never really had a big influx of out-of-state people, because it's mostly state jobs. We didn't have the big Michelin like Greenville does, or Boeing like Charleston or whatever. So it was, state jobs are usually kind of more of an in-state thing, I guess. We didn't have a big industry here, but I'd say, what year is it? 2022. Yeah, 2022. Yeah. I'd say the last 10 years, maybe less, maybe 5. It's been, and then the COVID thing, right? So all that, that really pushed because, again,
people could work from home. And
people work from home, and people want that lifestyle. There are palm trees here. There's that sense of kind of more easy speeds, and we enjoy that here. It's we get our stuff done for sure. Everyone's we're working this and that. It's not someplace that's not prosperous.
Not so slow,
So but there's other times besides work. So I think people like that. But like you said, 5-10 years, give or take. And then but I could see the push is coming
in the last couple of years.
It's coming, and I think it will, the real push will end up coming. For sure.
And even from when I started back in 2018 in real estate, we had a lot of people talking about it. I was calling people, and there wasn't much movement. Yeah, there were some people. I know when I came here, Ohio was a big one. They were coming here a lot. And then, yeah, like you said, in the last couple of years since COVID, it's just picked up a lot. A lot of people working from home, a lot of you guys I've talked to either retiring, working from home, and now you can kind of live where you want, job transfers, things like that. So it's even in the couple of years I've done it, it's picked up. But yeah, I was curious, from your perspective. But like you said, I think you talked about before is you got the big city Columbia over there, but it's not so big that you feel like you're in the big city, but it's still got that small town kind of feel.
Yeah. And the traffic, we complain about our traffic, but in real terms, it's not bad. It's, versus other big cities, it's not.
Coming from LA, it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's laughable.
Oh yeah, I'm on the outside of Lexington area, and I can get to downtown in 35 minutes, really and truly, which is very reasonable. And then after rush hour, it's easy.
Yeah, and that's the good thing I always tell people here is we have a true rush hour. It's a rush hour where LA it was all day long.
Yeah,
it was like a 1 hour window in the middle of the night that you might have been able to get by. And so it's obviously depending on where you're coming from, that perspective. But
one nugget, if I love being here. Our spring and fall, amazing, right? In our proximity to the mountains and the ocean.
Yep.
I know you've kind of talked about that some of your videos, 'cause I love your videos. But I'm a big fan of it. Like, I can shoot to Asheville 2.5 hours. I can shoot to Charleston 2.5 hours.
Yep.
Easy weekend, and those are big, beautiful, drastic location differences, versus like a Columbia. So, being at 6,000 feet and then being at sea level. I mean, you can do it in the same day. You can. I mean, you really, and I take advantage of it. Not everyone does.
Nope.
But
we definitely have.
We do. Versus like the Charleston people, they don't go to the mountains that often.
Because it's that much further.
Because it is. Because you get to Columbia, then you have another 2.5. So it turns into 5.
We're the middle.
And I love the mountains.
And even we've gone to Pigeon Forge, which is only a couple hours past that Asheville area, Tennessee, all that. Even Florida, my wife and I have done that. You can go down to Florida and within the day. So I think that's what one of the big draws for us is the centralness to everything. And again, it's all perspective, right? We did the West Coast. We visited the Vegases, the San Diegos, up north to the Wyomings and Washingtons and all that. And so it's a new perspective being over here, but having all these new places that we get to go. But again, I think it's a day trip thing for us. We were beach people, and it's having Charleston,
go to the beach,
Isle of Palms,
Folly,
all those places within, a short drive too. So I think, it's another one of the big draws that gets people coming here too. So, well, appreciate you coming on here.
There's my kitty.
I'll have your info in the comments below. So
for sure. I mean, feel free, mosquitomarys.com. Literally just go there, type in your stuff, and someone will be in touch with you, or 806-7712, 803-806-7712. But more than happy to help you guys out. We've been super busy and blessed and all that kind of good stuff. So, but if you're looking for real estate help, this guy, it's hard to find a good real estate agent, as everyone knows. But if you want a good mixture of knowledge, dependability, and trustworthiness, that's it. Brandon will help you for sure. So that's my endorsement for sure, man. So
well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
There's only one phone call that you need to make. In Columbia, Brandon Garon is a real estate agent dedicated to helping families relocating to South Carolina. Contact the agent I trust in Lexington and all of the Midlands, Brandon Garon, and visit him online at brandongaron.com.